I think we got a pretty mixed bag here. Let's get the party started. 20-minute sprint. Start the clock. For those of you who don't know the rules of engagement, we'll go over that. Today, we're going to talk about the problem, understanding the problem, going deep here in the next 20 minutes. Fortunately, I don't have to tackle the problem alone. This week, the lovely and talented Maria Bras is joining me. Say hi, Maria, to our audience.
Hi, everyone.
So Maria is a world-class sales trainer. She has been leading sales teams for the last few years, currently leads team at revenue.io. She's teaching, she's training, she's sharing her knowledge all over the place. Follow her on LinkedIn if you're not already. There's tons of great content there. And she is going to be with me here side by side as we get into the problem. This is a big one, Maria. This is one that I've encountered my whole career and I've seen it all over the place. Just a couple of housekeeping tips here before we dive in. It's 20 minutes, so we live up to it if you're new to it. If this is your first 20-minute sprint, we hold true to it. The clock has started. It's 20 minutes. You're in, you're out, you're on with your selling. Maria and I are going to hang out for 10 more minutes after to answer any questions that we can get to. Questions are in the chat. I've already popped in a little message in there. So if you have questions, write them right in as they come up. We'll answer them in the order that they are written in there. And a lot of this comes from a new section that we just announced and just launched inside Triple Session, a new category called Discovery Questions. Talk a little bit more about that after we wrap up here. But let's dive right in. We already have the clock started. Understanding the problem. Before we get into tactics, Maria, what do you see as the problem? Why is this such a challenge for so many salespeople?
Yeah, so that's kind of a complex question. I think it starts in onboarding, right? You're new to a sales organization. They're pumping you with product knowledge and industry knowledge and what internal processes and things that have to go in the sales process, sales skills, like so much information, but rarely do we spend enough time on the humans that you're selling to, right? Like, what does their day look like? What are the struggles that they're running into? What's preventing them from reaching their goals? What are those goals in the first place? And then how are those like problems that you all solve manifested in their day-to-day, like sitting in their desk? Like, what does that look like for the individuals that you all are selling it to? And just really that time is you don't go so in depth in that in onboarding, right? There's probably just not enough time, and it's difficult to document that. So what we do is we end up deferring to absence of our tool as being the problem, or not having a specific feature functionality as being the problem, or even just like, oh, they want to they're looking for a new solution to what they have today, so like that's the problem. And so it becomes really, really important throughout the entire sales process, top of funnel, cold calling or cold outreach, emails, whatever channel it might be, all the way until closing, to really have a clear understanding of the problem, and also to help educate them on what that is, right? If you're bringing them in from cold conversations, they're not evaluating what you're selling. You're going to have to educate them on potentially your perspective of the problem or your company's perspective on the problem.
So true. And, I wouldn't have even thought of how to bring it back to onboarding, but you're absolutely right. So many organizations, they talk a big game about being customer centric and living for the customer, only being customer obsessed. And then when they onboard salespeople, they imprint in their brains, company, product. And what that results in is a whole generation of salespeople that come out of onboarding thinking about company, thinking about product, not thinking about customer and solving problems. And it really should be flipped around, right? We should be imprinting who's the customer, what can we understand about their world, and what's the core problem that we solve, irrespective of our product, our company.
Absolutely. Like, and where does that fit in too? Because just because it's obviously top of mind for you because you're a salesperson selling a solution to it, but where does that fall on the priority list for your prospects? And like, what are the other things that you maybe can't solve for that they're up against? And like, do you know any like other sales friends and other type of companies that you could potentially partner with, right? Because the goal should be to help them make the best business decision, to help them solve the really what's preventing them from reaching their goals and getting the most success. And so that could be that your solution is not the right one. It could be that there's no urgency, and it also could be that you might want to like partner with another sales rep to help address the problem.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Let's figure out how to actually close that gap and give everyone here some action items and some real beneficial tactics to effectively get there. Let's jump in here. We talked a bit about this the other day, that the problem is not the absence of your product. What does that mean exactly?
Yes, like Matt and I just had like a big light bulb moment when we talked about this in like our prep session of this. It's like, oh, like for example, to give you an example, for me, like we sell a sales engagement platform and a dialer and call coaching, all these different things, right? So sometimes we'll get inbound leads that come in and say, we're looking for a dialer. We need this specific feature. But that's not their problem. They don't necessarily need a sales engagement platform, right? Or they could have one already in place today. So like, why are they looking for alternatives to that? The goal might be, oh, we are not hitting our pipeline goals to get to our our end of year target. We're not tracking in that way. Like that's the problem. The problem is not that you need a sales engagement platform. It might be that, you're looking for, the problem isn't that you don't have a dialer and reps are manually, you're not logging calls in HubSpot or Salesforce. The problem is that calls aren't being logged, so you can't really find out what's working, what's not working, and do more of that and scale that across the team and like learn and test different things from the data. So this, I think, is important because I used to think this way as well. And then I don't know when that clicked. Maybe Matt, you're the one who taught me this, and it clicked for me at this point. But I think it's a very common thing that people do is they just mistake the absence of product or features and functionality for actually being the problem, when we really want to find out like, why does that matter?
Yeah, I think this is fool's gold when it comes to problem detection. And it's a trap that a lot of sales teams fall into because they come with an agenda, and their agenda is, I want to sell a product. I want to sell the value of my solution. And it's so valuable that not having it is in and of itself a problem. And when we approach it that way, it really can lead the conversation astray and really disconnect from outcomes that a business is looking to see, or outcomes that the business is not seeing. What is really the situation? Even if your company never existed, what is the situation that's broken right now or needs improvement or should be optimized that you really need to dig into? And even to your point, even if there's no fit, even if you advise the prospect to go somewhere else, do something else, that's okay at this stage, because you're coming in pure of heart, really trying to understand what the situation is.
Yeah. And that will come across to your prospect too. If that's really like what is driving you and driving your discovery, it will be so much more organic and natural and feel less like pressure. So they'll probably be more likely to open up about what's actually going on than like feeling like forced down this rigid like sales leading questions and things like that.
Yeah. So we got one thing to avoid here. Let's get into some stuff that salespeople can take action on and start doing to close the gap here and really start uncovering problem. So
sure,
you brought this up as the first thing that you talked about when we were chatting about this: tailored to the person, tailored to the individual. Problems are individual. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So I think that a way that a problem, and we might want to just give an example of this, but the way that a problem within an organization, Matt, like for you as a CEO, I might be experiencing the problem as the head of sales development, but it's going to manifest manifest in a different way for me, or there's going to be a different impact to that for me than for you. So I think it just like impacts the like buying team or different stakeholders, a specific problem differently. And if you're like below the power line, right, if you're you know, an individual contributor or someone that's you know, maybe I don't know who necessarily are buyers within your companies, but if you're below the power line, it's going to be more in the weeds types of problems, right? Like more operational type work. And then the higher you go up the chain, it's going to impact them in like more broad, less specific ways. But I think that that's really important to think about is like the main like ideal client profiles that you're going after in your prospecting or that are involved as part of the buying team in the sales process. And like, why do they care? What's in it for them from like a logical standpoint and also from an emotional standpoint, right? Maybe and like in how that manifests in their day to day. So like Matt and I gave this example in our prep session of like try to just like put on their hat for the day or sit at their desk. You know, it's 9 a.m. What's going on? How does that problem manifest in their day to day? And like, what's frustrating about that? And do they realize it's a problem? Like, how are they getting the job done today? That specific individual. So that might be by title, by industry. You could probably like make some assumptions and lump that together in your prospecting. And then in the sales process, you'll obviously want to like really fine tune that and get specific about the individual.
Yeah, and I see this all the time, especially as deals progress. Every deal has more than one person involved. Nobody is a solo decision maker, user, like no matter what it is. You're talking, even in the smallest companies, you're talking to a wife, a husband, a partner, somebody else that's involved in every deal, no matter how small it is. Larger enterprise deals, it's obvious that there are multiple stakeholders. Discovery and problem analysis is something that emerges throughout the entire conversation, right? It's not a stage. It starts from the very first prospecting call and lasts all the way through the final conversation that you have when bringing customers on, and even after that. And if we don't treat it that way, we get this one size fits all conversation, and we kind of get some simplistic information. We're superficial, and then we try to fit everybody into that one problem that we may have learned from one person along the way, and do a copy and paste for every conversation. That doesn't resonate, especially you had mentioned power line. A user's problem can be very different from an economic buyer's problem, which is even more different than a technical buyer who has to integrate the whole thing. So understanding the perceptions and perspectives of every individual that's along the way influencing the decision on your ultimate solution has to be taken into consideration. This one was huge.
Absolutely. And that can get really complex, especially when it's like a big enterprise deal and there's lots of people involved. Maybe you're doing a demo for 8+ people at a time. And so bringing that like individuals into the conversation and asking like specific pointed questions to the person is really important. And you can add so much value there because you can really elevate the voice of the different parties involved and help them build consensus among that group and alignment, which is so hard to do. So if you can do that as a salesperson, like God bless you, like you're going to be doing good.
Absolute gold. This one here, item 3, is easily the biggest, the most common, the one I see that trips salespeople up all the time. Below the surface, and the understanding the above surface versus below surface problem. And the iceberg analogy is adequate here, right? It fits. There's way more below the surface than there is above the surface. What have you seen with subsurface problem investigation?
So you have to listen really in the discovery. I mean, you always do, but I think to get to that granular level, and that's what's going to like be put into your cost of inaction analysis to help build a business case. Like these are like the metrics and the information that's going to help you become a strategic advisor versus just your average salesperson. Average salespeople, they get above the surface, they understand the problems, they get the information they need and try to position a solution. But this below the surface information is really what's going to help differentiate you and really get them to to see that you're looking to understand their problems and you're the strategic advisor. So I think, so you asked me tips, sorry, I'm going on a tangent. Tips to getting to this level is asking those, second, third layer deep discovery questions. And those can be kind of difficult to do. You can't necessarily plan them out because it happens organically. But what I have always told my reps to listen for is listen for the vague pieces of information that they're giving you. So maybe they come in saying, yeah, like we're looking to grow. Okay, well, how do you define growth? That might be the second follow-up question that you say, and then you get that much more information. Or we need more pipeline. How much more pipeline? Right? Like try to quantify what they're giving you, and also like dig deeper. And if there's something maybe you don't know the perfect follow-up question to ask, you can also be like, tell me more about that. Can you expand on that? Even as simple as that. I think we overcomplicate it with all of these different methodologies for discovery, when really you could just be like, can you just expand on that? Like, tell me more about that. When was there was there a moment in time where you realized that this was a problem? Can you describe that? One of my favorite ones I've learned from my VP of sales was, sounds like there's a story behind this. And like, you'd be so surprised how much prospects will open up and share like so many great, incredible below the surface details at that point.
It's not even a question, right? It's great because you're just kind of lobbing out this idea. It sounds like there's a story behind this, and it just kind of leaves it hanging open for the person to fill in the details there. I love that one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're right. The methodologies by themselves do not solve this problem. Whatever acronym you're following, whether it's SPIN or SPICed or MEDIC or MEDPIC or whatever it is, they don't steer you in the direction of going deep into the problem analysis and really going layer by layer and uncovering what's behind that, or what led to that, or tell me more about where this is going. Who else is being impacted by this situation? And really understanding the complexity. Who else is involved? How deep does it go? How long has it been there? There's a world of information below that surface. And that's really where the momentum to change is. That is what's driving the conversation. If you don't understand that second or third level of what's going on, you're really losing the value of what you can solve.
And that's, oh gosh, that's so good, Matt. And like, that's really the value that you come in as a salesperson. Like that's where the art and the craft of sales is, because it's easy to be an order taker, right? It's easy to say, oh, you have this problem or you're looking for this. We can solve that. And then here's what it is. This is what it looks like. That's not going to get you enterprise deals.
Years ago, I started studying root cause analysis and what professional consultants like Bain or McKinsey, what they use to uncover where gaps in processing is. So all of that Six Sigma, black belt stuff, I started really studying that. We put a ton of it inside Triple Session for sessions to study up on, and reverse fishbone and logic trees, the 5 whys. That's what we do as complex consultative salespeople. We have to deeply understand problems and then build solutions. You got to go below the surface. That's where all of the value lives. Last point here. Time's almost up here. We're getting close to that 20 minutes. It's going fast. Quantified.
Okay.
Problems are quantified. What have you seen here?
Yeah, I think especially if you have a champion in the sales process who's not like a economic decision maker, this is where you really will want to partner with them. Of like, you got your person that really could be benefited from this. They're bought in, but they need to present the business case to their CFO or their executive team to really sign on the dotted line and make the decision. You've got to quantify that problem because they care about the dollars and cents, the ones that are higher up. And so you'll want to partner with them to quantify that by asking. Matt, you gave some brilliant examples of questions like that. Yeah, like, what does that cost you? How, like, any sort of numbers that you can quantify. I think there's someone put out a really good doc on like the cost of inaction and like ROI calculators. I think especially right now in like today's like economic climate, the cost of inaction are really great calculators to present to get those, like that internal business case run and with that executive team, because we're not necessarily buying like fluffy fun tools that like could be like, oh great, we could potentially do more with this. We're buying software and things to solve problems that are having a dollars and cents impact on our business. So we definitely want to quantify it as best we can.
Yeah, and this goes right back to where we started 20 minutes ago with, it starts with onboarding and understanding your customer's world. Every customer that's being sold to, whether it's marketing, sales, HR, finance, ops, engineering, product, they all have different metrics and measures that they're using in their space to quantify performance. You have to understand your customer's language and understand the stuff they track. The old adage is, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And ultimately, after you define a problem, you're going to present a solution that aims to improve their situation. You have to understand what the baseline is. It's all part of understanding that root cause of the problem. If they're not measuring it, you're not going to be able to do that. And to your point, how are you going to justify a return on an investment if you don't know what the numbers of return should be?
Yeah, and track their progress too over time to renew that, like to renew their business and earn like as a baseline for improvement. So that's really important too, especially right now, to try to keep those customers that you got.
Fantastic. Well, that's it. We're in 20 minutes. That's in, it's out. It goes fast, doesn't it? We get into a meaty, good, high protein conversation like this. Tons of more content on it. I know it went really fast. We got a new category inside Explore on the triple session mainframe. So it's free. If you're not in a triple session right now, log in, create an account. If you are already using our platform and you're members, check out the discovery questioning area. If you were not taking notes, don't worry about it. You're going to get a one-page summary of all this stuff Maria and I just went over about going deep into question analysis. And speaking of problems and asking greater questions, let's talk about it. What else is on your mind? What can we answer for you? We're going to hang around here for another 10 minutes. See what we got in here already. We got Brazil, we got Charleston in the house. Let's leave that open. We're waiting for some questions here. Just a heads up, excited for next week if you want to get a head start on it. Jen Allen Newth and I, she is the head of growth at lavender.io, which is sales AI. She's going to go deep into the impact of AI on prospecting. Really excited about this one. If you're not following Jen, demand Jen, you got to get on her stuff. Really smart, really insightful. We're going to have a lot of fun next Tuesday. Put the link here while we are waiting for some questions to come up, and Maria and I will be here to answer them.
You will not want to miss that one with Jen. She is a genius.
She's brilliant.
I'm excited to learn from her.
Yeah. We're using Lavender triple session. Fantastic what it does, how much it optimizes everything, the learnings you get. The bots are better writers than humans. I hate it. As a writer, I hate to admit that, but it's true.
Human plus AI.
So a couple more minutes here that Maria and I are going to hang around. Problems, going deep into problems, customer problems. Here we got one. What is the best form to create the necessary urgency in the prospect that you are talking to? So I'll go first there and I'll hand it over to you, Maria. For me, and we just recently did a whole session on building urgency and we have a track on that. So it's a great question, Leo. How do you effectively do that? First, you really can't build urgency from your side. You got to pull it out from the customer side. So you create urgency along with the customer. And it's almost like being a lawyer where you have to ask the great questions and get the witness to testify as to why they cannot continue to do what they're doing. And the urgency cannot be to change. It has to be to not stay the same. And it sounds the same, but these are two different sides of the same coin, right? Urgency is to not go somewhere. Urgency is to get out of the current situation that you're in. And it's directly related to the conversation we're having now about problem. Going really deep and understanding and getting that prospect to really bear witness and testify on why they can no longer do what they're doing right now, and what happens if they don't change, and how much time is it going to take to impact and avoid a negative outcome and a consequence if they just continue to stay the same. What's your take on it, Maria?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I don't think I can even add any more to that piece of it. Like pain of same has to be greater than the pain of change. And so I don't think you can help educate them on the problem and the impact and tie a different roles problems together and the impact of that. You could do a cost of inaction type of calculation. But ultimately, it's your job to educate them on it and pull it out. But if it's not a priority for them, like you can't necessarily change their mind. So,
Right. Yeah, that's great. Another question here from Victor about quantifying and showing ROI. How can we deal with that when we can't actually calculate it with our services and products? Be curious to know what the service or product is, but I could give an example there. Did you want to field this one, Maria, or you want me to take it?
I would just say if you have success stories of relevant industry or title that you can speak to, business size, and be able to show like, hey, well, I can't promise this 10x of growth, right, for you, but what I can say is XYZ customer was in a similar situation. This is how they addressed the problem, and this was the results that they've seen. So I think that's one way to do it.
Yeah. There's an entire industry that's built on this, and it has the names on every building in every major city in the world. That's the insurance business. And insurance, they don't really quantify their offer terribly well. What they do is they're not selling a make money or save money value proposition. They're selling a reduce risk value proposition. And the way you do that is understanding the stress of the current situation. Even though it's qualified, it's real and it's customer focused and it's pulled from the customer. What is the stress that's associated with your current state? And how do we de-risk or de-stress the current situation that you're in? So staffing, for example, there's a business I was consulting called Work, and Work is effectively a staffing offer, but I was challenging them to reframe what their offer is, because it's hard to quantify what staffing or the absence of staffing provides. Ask them to quantify or reframe it almost like an insurance offer. When's the next time you're going to lose one of your team? When's the next time somebody is going to quit or just not show up and you need to replace them? When are you going to have to do that? And what does it mean to your business? Oh, it's chaos. Customers aren't going to get great service. We're going to fall behind. We won't have as many customers coming in. All of this negative stuff can happen that's qualitative and add a very stressful situation. Writing all that stuff down. Okay, and you don't know when it's going to happen. It could happen right now. Exactly. So that's why you need to bring us in, because that moment of chaos could come at any moment and you need to be prepared for it. So positioning your offer when it can't be quantified can still be done when you understand the emotional triggers and the levers to pull when your client is in that situation. The key there, and the real element that you're focused on with problem analysis, is that it is the here, the now, the situation today. Quantified is great, but even if you can get the qualified one, that's a decent placeholder sometimes. All right, that's it. Time's up. Thank you so much, Maria. Deeply appreciate it. This was fantastic. Great insights. Hope everybody got a lot of learnings out of that. If you have questions and we didn't get to them here, jump into the Triple Session Slack group. We have a channel for Q&A. If you have questions for me, questions for Maria, let us know. Pop them in there and we'll be sure to get to them. Hope to see you next week on the AI impact on prospect. It's going to be a great one. Thanks again, Maria.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks for having me on. Bye.
Hey, everybody.